Okay, so I have a question from someone. I'm going to keep her name anonymous because I think this is sort of it's a current topic for her and probably not something she wants to advertise on the internet just yet. So I'm going to call her Catherine, and we're just going to go with that. And so basically, she's asking, what are the ethics of looking for another agent when I already have one? So my first question is are you seeking representation with a second agent in the same jurisdiction? So I have two agents, but one is Europe and one is North America, basically. And my second comment, or my comment, kind of overlaying the whole thing, is it's always best to be honest. Rarely, actually, probably never in my entire professional life have I snuck behind the back of my current employer. I've always been very forthright to them and told them exactly my intentions as soon as I knew. For instance, I had before I became before I went to art school, I was a sort of self-taught designer. I had a graphic design job, and I knew I wanted to go to art school. As soon as I knew I was in art school, I was accepted at the school. I had lots of time to prepare and accept that new stream of life for me. I talked about it with my employer. I said, just so you know, I am intending on going to art school, which means I'm going to be quitting this job. And that's at the risk of that employer letting me go early because, if I'm leaving, why are they going to invest any more in me as an employee? And so that was like 6 months in advance of leaving that position. And fortunately, he was very gracious and kept me on until I was ready to leave. And so that's the first example, I guess. But even after art school, after when I had employers, jobs with design studios, when it was time to look somewhere else, I always was very forthright with my employer and told them my intentions. I even told my first design employer toward the end of my tenure, I was like, just so you know, or not my tenure, my 2 years, I said, just so you know, I've always wanted to work one place 2 years, but never more. So and I gave her kind of my notice well in advance, and I got to work right till that last day of my 2 years, and so honesty is always the best policy. Transparency is good. It keeps you from having to sneak around and you know withhold information and that what do you call it when you have two things. You have cognitive dissonance, that conflict you have inside when you're saying one thing but knowing another. That's a very uncomfortable position to be in, no matter who you are. I'm particularly sensitive to it, so I've always just been super transparent, and that way I can operate above the table. So my I can't really give you advice, Catherine, but I can tell you that for me, I've just been honest. And this is actually when I got approached by a okay, so I had an illustration agent already in Europe or in London, and then just out of the blue, I was contacted by my second agent, or by an agent in New York, and they asked if I would be interested in representation. And so the first thing I thought is like, will my first agent be okay with this? And ultimately, it's not up to my agents. I can do whatever I want. I'm not under the control or discipline or whatever of my agent, but I am responsible to them because I'm in a relationship to be transparent about what I'm doing. I'm not sneaking behind their back. They've invested in me. They've been promoting me. They've been counting on me, and so it's a two-way street, and I just like to honor that. So I just checked with my agent. He was like, "Yeah, no, that's cool. Like we'll do Europe and England, and you guys, can do North America." And I'm sure that was kind of a loss for them, in the sense that I'm not bringing in work from my part of the world, but it also made a lot of sense because they're in a totally different time zone. So So yeah, just as much as possible, talk to your agent. If you're not getting work from them, I think you can even call them on that. So you can say, I haven't been getting a lot of work through you guys. Maybe I need to poke around and just try different agencies, and you can see if they want to keep you on while you do look for other agencies. Especially important to talk to them about it if you want to look within the same jurisdiction. So if they're North America, you want to make sure that they're okay with that. Another possibility is you could maybe seek representation in a different jurisdiction. So maybe you have a sort of East Coast and Midwest representative, and then maybe a West Coast representative, something like that. There's different ways of compromising and honoring all parties invested in this decision of yours. So yeah, I think having two agents is great, especially if they're both giving you work. Sometimes you get more work from one than the other, and you always have to remember that a representative, like having an agent, it's a two-way street. You're in a relationship, a partnership. No one is above the other, and in a sense, if there's anyone who should have a little bit more sway, it should be the illustrator, because you're the one doing the work, and the agency is they do work. They definitely do work. They promote you, and they do a lot of stuff that actually we have no idea as illustrators. But you're the one making the product, and they're selling it and taking a cut. So you should always remember that you are the product, and what you make is the product, and your time, and so you get to choose ultimately who you work with and how you work. But at the same time, you want to honor the relationship aspect of your representative of your rep, and always treat it like that. Imagine that you're in partnership with a good friend, or your partner, or someone in your family, and just, or imagine that you're the agent. How would you want your illustrator to work with you? So that's kind of my lengthy answer, but hopefully that makes sense. Just kind of what you're asking is a kind of an ethical question, and kind of a technical question, so I guess I'm trying to say kind of my own take on it, and I wish you well, Catherine, and I hope this helps.